Hello, my name is James Patrick. I'm a former officer in the U.S. Army's Green Berets and SoundOff's chairman of the board. Thank you for joining us during this unique and challenging time for our community and country. This Veterans Day, we're connecting with you in a different way, but are excited to share the tremendous work and progress of SoundOff over the last year. For the next hour, we'll lay out the past, present, and future chapters of SoundOff. First, a celebration of our launch as we share our founding story, which will culminate in the words of a veteran we are supporting today. Next, we are going to share how COVID has made this challenging and terrible problem worse. Finally, you're going to hear from our founder and CEO, William Negley, and partner organizations about our path ahead. As we go through this evening, we hope you will consider supporting our efforts by giving at the link below. Now to share SoundOff's story, Alice Fultz. Alice is a lifelong mentor to William Negley, a friend to Sydney Mulder, and has been a member of SoundOff's board for over 3 years.
In 2012, the VA released the tragic statistic that 22 veterans were killing themselves each day. Each day. William Negley was a CIA officer in Afghanistan at the time, working alongside countless veterans and those still serving. He knew there was a simple but critical flaw in the effort to support the mental health of his friends and colleagues. Many did not feel safe seeking help for fear of stigmatization or professional blowback. William was simultaneously immersed in a world of encryptions, pseudonyms, secure communications, and call signs, and in a culture that thrived on out-of-the-box thinking. It was intuitive to him that the way the CIA worked every day, combining secure communications and encrypted names, could be leveraged to support his peers struggling with the decision to seek out help. The seed of SoundOff was planted. A week after William returned home, a colleague of his in Afghanistan killed herself in the CIA's first in-theater suicide of the War on Terror. He knew there had to be a better way. He knew he had to act. He took 6 months of leave from the agency to begin building SoundOff. He recruited his colleague and best friend, Mike Moreno, and his father-in-law, Paul Janes, to be the 2 other founding board members of SoundOff. Over the next year, the team engaged with technical and legal experts to refine and develop the model for SoundOff. The anonymous nature of the program meant it would need to be a nonprofit, and they would need to raise considerable funds to launch. As SoundOff worked to raise the capital necessary, a tragedy in William's family was brewing. William's sister, Sydney, met Bill Mulder in 2002, the very week the 2 siblings moved to San Diego for William to attend college. Sydney and Bill got married and had 3 children. Bill would go on to join Dev Group, SEAL Team 6, and retire in 2017 after 20 years of service. Then on June 9th, 2017, Bill killed himself. The unimaginable loss injected tremendous communal energy into SoundOff as Sydney became the public face for its need. William and Sydney began to travel to raise the funds necessary to build the organization, which wasn't available to Bill, the organization they knew countless others needed. By the fall of 2018, with the support of organizations like the Brown Foundation, the Mays Family Foundation, the Greehey Family Foundation, and many others, SoundOff raised the seed capital necessary to begin to bring vision to reality. SoundOff immediately partnered with the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute, working daily with experts like Kyle Mitchell and Sean Hanna. They provided invaluable organizational and clinical experience as they worked to ensure SoundOff's programmatic efficacy, as well as working to identify and recruit an initial team of military competent clinicians and trained peers through partnerships with organizations like 22 Kill and collaboration with the Texas Veterans Commission. At the same time, tremendous engineering resources went into development of the platform, first in collaboration with GDIT, then with contract developers, Appy Apps and Jungle Devs. William drew on his experience at the CIA to inform and inspire all aspects of the effort. They leveraged end-to-end encryption to ensure messages could not be read by anyone outside of the intended audience. The basis for the Veteran Naming Convention, a combination of animals and colors, drew from paramilitary training William received, wherein radio call signs were redfish, blackfish, bluefish. As Sound Off worked from these initial phases of development to launch, they built a team of engineers and supporting corporations with deep technical and programmatic understanding of their organizational mission to meet the needs of the men and women they aim to support. In 2020, Sound Off officially launched across Texas. After nearly a decade of work, a seemingly simple vision to support veterans on their terms was reality. Veterans and service members across the state can now access free, anonymous, clinical, and peer support right from their phone, without fear, without stigma.
My name is Susan Negley. I'm a licensed professional counselor and a Jungian psychoanalyst. I've supported numerous veterans and active duty service members in my private practice. I'm also William Negley's mother. Both in support to him and my desire to support the veterans community, I was one of the first clinicians on Sound Off. 5 months ago, a siren began to sound on my phone, informing me that a veteran, Brown Fox 286, had selected me and was seeking help. We scheduled an initial appointment. The next day, I opened the Sound Off app and spoke with Brown Fox, an Army officer and Afghanistan veteran. Over the coming weeks, Brown Fox and I spoke several times via the Sound Off app, eventually transitioning into in-person support. For the past 5 months, I've seen Brown Fox each week as he works through, in his words, fairly textbook PTSD. He has consistently expressed overwhelming gratitude to Sound Off as he struggled for years to effectively engage with mental health resources that he felt comfortable with. A month ago, I asked Brown Fox if he would be willing to write a letter to the role Sound Off has played in his life over the past 5 months. He immediately agreed, stating, "If I can just help one person." He and his wife drafted a letter which we have reviewed together to ensure that his identity remains secure. Now reading for Brown Fox 286, my stepdaughter, Sydney Mulder. As you may know, on June 9th, 2017, Sydney lost her husband, Bill Mulder, to suicide after 20 years of service as a Navy SEAL. Tragically, Sound Off wasn't available to Bill. He felt he had nowhere to turn for support. But we continue to honor and remember Bill today as we work to make meaning of this tragic loss.
Dear Sound Off community, my wife first heard about Sound Off from a TV interview on Veterans Day 2019. We were engaged at that point, and even then, she knew I was a little off during Veterans Day, so she encouraged me to install the app. I didn't use it, but I always knew it was there. Fast forward to June 2020, and we are now married, and that was when I got the news about McCoy. McCoy was a soldier of mine back during a 2010-2011 Afghanistan deployment, and in June of 2020, he was arrested and charged with murder. This really set me back. I could feel the storm coming. But now I was married, I was not just alone in my small condo. I could not put my wife through this nonsense. So I reached out. I opened the Sound Off app and selected Susan as my sound-off clinician. I explained my fairly textbook PTSD: anger, rage, drinking, fighting, isolation, guilt. My God, the guilt. This was not my first bout of the storm. I left the Army in 2012 and would eventually receive a disability rating from the VA for PTSD, among other things. I had received treatment from the VA in the primary form of medication. The medications did numb me to all feelings, but this made me feel only half human, half alive. I also searched for support and went to a VFW and an American Legion, but just didn't fit in. I also reached out to Wounded Warrior Project, tried a few churches, and even went to a yoga session, but I just didn't fit in. Eventually, I chose to get off the meds and resumed a very solitary, work-focused, semi-alcoholic life for nearly 5 years. I cannot express enough my gratitude for Sound Off and how highly I would and have recommend them. I quickly decided to transition to meeting in person with Susan and have been doing so for 5 months now. It has been challenging and transformative. After getting married, I have begun to re-enter the civilian world, and I don't know how I would have made it through some difficult things without Sound Off and Susan. It's simple but difficult things for a vet with PTSD, getting bumped in the supermarket, or learning how to better handle road rage. I honestly don't know if I would have kept my job, kept my sanity, and kept my marriage during COVID and after McCoy without Sound Off. I hope you can share this letter with sponsors and donors so that they can be reassured their giving is helping veterans like myself. As I have mentioned, I had reached out to a number of veterans groups, the VA, and other places, but this is the first time I've actually received support that helped me in a meaningful way. I encourage your donors and sponsors to be generous during this most difficult time of COVID. It is precisely at these times of national crisis when vets like me tend to slip through the cracks. I think it's no coincidence that McCoy lost access to his VA treatment during COVID and then did what he did. I hope my testimony can be of some small value to Sound Off and hope others can be inspired to do the same in a more impactful way. Grateful beyond words. Brown Fox 286.
Thank you, Sydney. We know Sound Off can make a difference for countless others like Brown Fox. That's why we hope you will consider supporting us at the link below. Providing mental health support is of utmost urgency as the pandemic weighs heavily upon each and every one of us. The isolation, financial hardships, and uncertainties exacerbate an already tragic problem within the veteran and service member communities. The Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute has been a steadfast partner to Sound Off's efforts. Kyle Mitchell and Sean Hanna have been instrumental in assisting Sound Off as we develop and grow our organization. Now to discuss COVID's impact, Sean Hanna, Senior Director of Veteran Initiatives at Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute.
My name is Sean Hanna, Senior Director of Veteran Initiatives at the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute. I've spent the last decade working on veteran mental health issues in the state of Texas and was one of the founders and original director of the Military Veteran Peer Network in Texas. We all hear the statistics of 20 veterans per day commit suicide. You may hear a number of 17, you may hear a number of 22. That's all different ways of doing the math. The important thing to know is that the problem is bad and it's getting worse every year. And this year, particularly due to COVID and the economic recession, it's even worse. Access and utilization of clinical and peer-based mental health supports for veterans and their families have been a struggle. for decades. We've been at war for over 20 years in the Middle East. We've had low intensity conflicts every decade prior to that. And we know that veterans often do not access care that they are eligible for a lot of different reasons. I mean, a lot of times we wrap that up as stigma, but it's more than stigma. There's a culture around military service and the soldier or the Marine and their resiliency and their ability to suppress their own pain, suffering, so that they can accomplish the mission. And they're very effective at that. That's what makes us the most effective fighting force on the planet. However, when we transition from military service to being veterans and reintegrating back into society, that attribute on the battlefield can actually be a hindrance to our health and well-being of not only ourselves, but also our families. And as many as improvements as the Veterans Administration has made in creating access and offerings of services, we know that roughly half of eligible veterans never even engage with that care. Oftentimes they may look for care in their community, or worst case, they don't seek care at all. And the power of Sound Off to provide an opportunity for veterans to engage with a battle buddy or a clinician on their own terms from the safety of their own house, remaining completely anonymous, which is entirely novel and new, can be that bridge, can provide them that opportunity that they otherwise wouldn't have or wouldn't take advantage of. Those of us that work within the veteran space, particularly in the mental health space, we're all very familiar with the number 20 of 20 veterans per day committing suicide. What people may not know is that according to the AP, since COVID has happened in the last 9 months, there's been a 20% increase in the number of service members that have committed suicide. There isn't a single person that hasn't been affected by COVID and the economic downturn related to COVID in some way, shape, or form. Additional stress, financial strains, all the way to losing loved ones, losing jobs. The unemployment rate due to the economic downturn is hitting veterans particularly hard. We know that approximately 14% of employed veterans work in 5 industries that are most likely being affected by layoffs, and that's according to the Bob Woodruff Foundation. One of the things that we talk about in veteran services, particularly in the transition, and that transition can take a veteran's entire life, if ever, before they feel like they've completely come home. We lose that sense of identity, who we were as a soldier, as a sailor. That identity we're no longer actively in. Now we have to find that new identity. And oftentimes that can be the familial role, whether that identity of being a husband, that identity of being a father, that identity of being a mother, whatever it is, immersing ourselves in that identity. And with that new identity that becomes the primary in our life, there are certain attributes, certain actions that we have to take to feel like we're fulfilling that role. That is putting food on the table, being able to buy clothes for our kids, being able to pay our bills, being able to be self-sustaining and not having to take handouts. All of those things that give humans pride in their place and in their sense of identity. And with COVID and the economic recession related to COVID, a lot of that has been stripped away across society, and specifically for veterans and their families, which is just another layer of pressure and strain and stress and a loss of hope that can go on top of combat PTSD, deployment stresses and strains, and everything that they already brought home with them. So in June, the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute and the Cohen Veterans Network issued a report that indicated that for every 5% increase in national unemployment, as many as 550 additional U.S. veterans could be lost to suicide annually, and another 20,000 more veterans could suffer from substance use disorder. Now, providers across the country know that and did everything they could to convert their live practices, in their buildings, in their offices, to telemental health. We also know there are obstacles to telemental health. I engage with clinical providers, leaders of clinical organizations across the state, and there may be some things that would be surprising to you. Oftentimes, veterans, particularly in more rural and lower economic situations, may not have the high-speed internet that they need to do a video chat. They may not have the privacy, particularly if multiple generations in one house. They can't find privacy within their own house. They may not even have enough technological devices in the house for them to engage with a clinical provider at the same time that a child is trying to go to school and somebody else, if they're fortunate enough, is able to telecommute. Where many of the industries in America were not able to switch to telemental health or to technology for their job. They have to physically be there, and those jobs either went away or they've seen an economic slowdown. So all of these are creating access problems for our veterans and their families. Sound Off provides an access. You may not have an extra iPad. You may not have a computer. You may not have the bandwidth, the internet bandwidth for all the high-tech video feed and things that a clinician may require you to have as part of the way they do their practice. But most everyone has a cell phone, has a smartphone. And most everyone, that cell phone network can carry the bandwidth that the Sound Off app requires because it's not transmitting video. And so it provides an access, again, not just the anonymity, but the ability to be on the phone, talking to a peer or talking to a clinician, and it looks like any other phone call that you could be having while you're outside walking around the yard. You don't have to find a private place in the house where you have to come up for some excuse for family members that you don't want them to know that you're seeking help. Sound Off provides that opportunity that veterans would otherwise not have. As part of the Meadows Institute's work with Sound Off in identifying well-trained, highly qualified battle buddies and clinicians to be on the platform, to be there ready for veterans when they reach out and want to engage, we were super excited to be able to bring Christopher Araujo, who was the former military veteran peer network coordinator in the Austin area, to bring him onto the Meadows team with the role of being a battle buddy on the platform. I knew that any veterans that reached out and selected him would be well served and well taken care of. And the story that Christopher is going to share of just such a veteran that reached out in the early days of this pandemic is truly powerful.
Hi, my name is Christopher Araujo. I am the project coordinator with the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute's Veterans Initiatives program. I spent 18 and a half years in the United States Army, was medically retired back in 2013 after multiple combat deployments. Before the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute, I was the volunteer coordinator for the Military Veteran Peer Network, where I received training as a veteran peer support specialist. During my role with the Military Veteran Peer Network, I was able to connect to many veterans that were looking for services in the mental health area, but didn't really know how to access those services or were disenfranchised with getting services at the VA. During my time at the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute, I was introduced to a program called Sound Off, which is an application on your phone, which allows veterans to remain anonymous and connect with other individuals who are able to help those individuals and navigate the intricacies of getting help with mental health related issues. During my time as a peer support on the Sound Off app, I was able to initiate contact with, or actually an individual initiated contact with myself on May 2nd of 2020. The veteran had stated that due to COVID, he had lost his job. Due to losing his job, it exacerbated some of the mental health issues that he was already suffering from, and also it damaged the relationships that he had with his family. being able to remain anonymous on the app was integral in me being able to build the trust with that individual, for that veteran to let his guard down and to be vulnerable. So we started talking on the app, and he started to express his feelings of hopelessness, his feelings of not being the provider that he should be with his wife and his kids. So we kind of went down the path of what was going on. And, the COVID situation was a major impact on him and his job. I think being able to reach out to somebody during a time of a pandemic or a time of crisis is very important, because we're all going through it together. And to be able to support somebody in a situation like this, I think it really speaks volumes to what the app is trying to do. And so he was feeling really, really hopeless at the time. We did get into the conversation of, was he thinking of hurting himself? Was he thinking of hurting somebody else? And he said no, he just didn't know what to do. He had some anger issues. He had some issues of acting out, of drinking. And we talked about that because I went through those same issues, and being able to connect to somebody that understands what you're going through is very powerful, which is what the app allowed us to do. The app allowed him to remain anonymous. He didn't want anybody to know who he was. He didn't want somebody to recognize his voice. And I believe that the anonymity of the app allowed him to let his guard down. It allowed him to open up and be vulnerable with me without fear of judgment, without fear of somebody saying, you're a bad person. We were able to get him connected. And I think through that anonymity, we gained a certain level of trust. Once he understood, or once he recognized that I wasn't just talking to talk, that I could actually help him connect to those services, that level of trust increased. Once that level of trust increased, he went to the point of engaging with me and saying, look, do you mind if we exchange phone numbers? And which we did, and we texted. He didn't call. He said, okay, let's just stay on a text, but I want you to know who I am. And that type of connection outside of the app is really, I think is powerful. Where you can remain anonymous, make a connection, gain trust, and have so much trust in that relationship that you build on the app that you move forward and create another bond where that individual and I were able to connect outside of the app. He got into some counseling. He got into some peer support programs, and we were able to stay in touch. And I was able to understand that, hey, you know what? I'm here. He was able to understand that I'm here if you need my help. I'm always here. This relationship doesn't end with the app.
Every day, we invest in supporting more veterans and service members like Greatback and need your help. We hope you will consider giving at the link below. Now to speak about SoundOff's path ahead and to introduce our partners in growth, William Negley.
SoundOff started with the simple idea: support veterans and service members anonymously on their terms, without fear of stigmatization or professional blowback. This seemingly simple idea created an immediate initial challenge: raise the capital necessary to build an unprecedented telemedicine platform. We are thrilled that with your support, we have moved beyond this initial challenge to focus on the new effort of scaling our service across Texas and the country. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you how we are accomplishing this and introduce you to our partners in this effort. As SoundOff grows, we are doing so while maintaining an exceptionally lean organization, scaling through technology, not headcount. We are delighted to be working with Amazon Web Services on this journey. As the leader in cloud computing, AWS has brought remarkable value to our platform. In one simple example, an AWS product called Amazon AppFlow helped us automate vetting of clinicians and battle buddies. It saved us tens of thousands of dollars in custom development and launched an extremely efficient onboarding platform in days, not months. We are proud to call AWS a partner as we move forward. Now, from Amazon Web Services, Sandy Carter, Vice President for Public Sector Partners and Programs.
Hi, my name is Sandy Carter, and I'm Amazon Web Services Vice President for Public Sector Partners and Programs. I'm honored to be here today and to let you know that Amazon Web Services is deeply committed to our nation's veterans and service members and their overall well-being. We've developed a number of programs that focus on supporting military community by helping them gain technical skills and develop successful careers. Additionally, we are supporting veteran suicide prevention efforts through projects like AWS Lighthouse, as well as Amazon's General Military Affairs team by providing machine learning capability to help identify those at risk and intervention efforts. Now, we know that over 47% of post 9/11 veterans are at risk for PTSD and depression, and we know that they typically don't reach out for help. So we need to take some innovative methods and approaches to remove that barrier to care. When we learned what SoundOff was doing to help this mission, we knew we wanted to play a role in help supporting them and giving the scope and the scale of what they were doing and the challenges that they faced. We believe that AWS can be a force multiplier to the SoundOff team as they grow. So we are honored to serve those who served our country. Thank you. And we're thinking big with SoundOff to support our veterans on their terms and ultimately help prevent suicide.
SoundOff is challenging old ways of thinking, pushing barriers in telemedicine and privacy regulations at the state and federal level. This simply would not be possible without the tremendous pro bono support of Dykema Gossett. Dykema has provided nearly $250,000 of pro bono support as we navigate a heavily regulated industry. As we prepare to expand into other states and potential partnership with the Department of Defense, we are tremendously appreciative of their continued support. Now from Dykema Gossett, partner Pat Ryan.
Hi, I'm Pat Ryan. I'm a corporate partner at the local law firm of Dykema Gossett. We work closely with William and SoundOff, developed that Texas launch over about a 6-month period. Then we're challenged to work further to develop program documents to expand the SoundOff program to the states of North Carolina and Virginia and California to address special forces needs, and have worked hard to do that, although unfortunately I lost my law partner, Kathy Kudner, to a heart attack in July a few months ago. Kathy was absolutely instrumental, the real brains behind our contribution to the effort. But we've now regrouped and rounded up other expertise and look forward to continuing to work with SoundOff over the near future to develop the documents and see SoundOff successfully expand and fulfill its wonderful mission, both in those states and ultimately nationwide.
Kathy Kudner was an amazing ally to SoundOff, bringing her tremendous legal intellect to bear in support of those who serve our country. We simply would not have launched without her counsel, and honor and remember her today. SoundOff has two primary paths to expand our impact nationally: organic growth and partnerships. SoundOff is expanding organically through our own efforts to recruit clinicians, peers, and veterans directly to our platform. This requires tremendous outreach effort, and we are proud to be working with the largest advertising platform in the world, Google, to directly reach our audience. As part of this outreach effort, Google recently launched Serving Veterans, a resource navigator for veterans seeking mental health support. We are proud to be featured as the only telemedicine option providing both clinical and peer support. Now from Google, Mike Trin, Senior Counsel, Google Legal.
Greetings from Google. My name is Mike Trin, and I'm based in the Bay Area here in Northern California. My team coordinates Google's efforts to help address substance use issues, addiction, and the opioid epidemic. Over the years, our work has spanned from prevention of prescription drug abuse to treatment, education, and help and resources for people in long-term recovery. You can see more at g.co/recovertogether. That said, this fall, we were honored to expand with a new initiative focused on veterans' mental wellness, launched in partnership with the community of veterans here at Google. While it's still early days, there are a variety of facets to this effort across different Google products, from ads to cloud to YouTube, for example. What unites them all is a strategy of finding and amplifying ways that technology can break down barriers between military communities and help and resources that lead to better outcomes. Because of the stigma involved, there's a unique opportunity for online technology to reach people that have been left underserved by existing efforts. With that in mind, we've already started working together with a variety of nonprofits and organizations nationwide. But one of our earliest partners has been SoundOff. We've been really impressed by the potential, passion, and platform of what you're building. In particular, your way of connecting online engagement and transforming it into real-world support is true innovation. We're deeply honored to help support that and bring your app and platform to more people. We're also thankful for your help and guidance as we start to think about the next stages of what we can do with technology. So thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. Please keep it up, and we look forward to what the future holds. Thank you.
While SoundOff scales organically, we are growing by leaps and bounds through organizational partnerships. These partners connect us with clinicians, battle buddies, and to veterans seeking support. The prototypical example of this type of partnership is 22Kill. 22Kill raises their own philanthropic funds to hire clinicians and peers to support veterans and service members. But beyond their own programming, they've made their staff available via SoundOff. Now, from 22Kill, Tempa Sherrill, Chief Operating Officer.
Hi, I'm Tempa Sherrill, and I am a licensed professional counselor and COO of 22Kill. We are a nonprofit organization who serves veterans, first responders, and their families with traditional and non-traditional therapies. Our mission is to empower veterans, first responders, and families in a way that they can live purposeful lives and resilient lives moving forward. And my reason why for getting into this work is the most important part of this for me. I'm the spouse of a Marine and Army veteran and a retired police officer. When he came home from Afghanistan and started seeking mental health help for his struggles and was really searching to try to be able to continue being a police officer. And when he approached his command to let them know he was struggling, when they learned of his PTSD diagnosis, he was told, "You can't be a police officer anymore." And that lit a fire inside of me to fight this stigma of how our servicemen and women it's not okay for them to get help. It's not okay for them to struggle. And due to that journey that my husband and I and our family went on, and that huge loss that he suffered, it has fueled the fire moving forward for me to collaborate with other people who also feel passionate about this work. Over the last few years, I collaborated with the Meadows Mental Health Policy Institute, and Sean Hanna, my friend there, he connects me with lots of really great individuals and organizations who are doing really good work in this community. And so he invited me to the Meadows Conference a couple of years ago, where I met William from SoundOff. And as he was presenting about SoundOff to a room full of clinicians and lots of mental health providers in the room, I was just thinking, wow, what if our family could have had access to something like this? Would my husband have been able to have a bridge, to build a bridge in a way that could help him get the help he needed without losing his career. So I immediately knew that this was a brilliant idea. It was a great resource to reach the community that is so often stigmatized when they raise their hand for help. And so I immediately knew that I wanted to be a part of this, and I was immediately bought in to Sound Off. So I have a staff of 25 people, and so we have several of our clinicians from 22 Kill who have volunteered to be a part of the therapy side of it, the therapy support, and we are committed moving forward to being a part of this mission. It takes the whole tribe working together to remove these barriers and to make a difference.
Sound Off has always had a close relationship with the Special Operations community. 2 former Special Forces officers serve on our board. I worked closely with the Special Operations community while in Afghanistan. And of course, my brother-in-law, Bill Mulder, served in the Navy SEALs for over 20 years. From 2007 to 2015, the Special Operations community had a suicide rate nearly 50% higher than the balance of the already elevated U.S. military. This is a community in need of support. Today, Sound Off is announcing a new path of expansion to support the Special Operations community. We are working directly with the Special Operations Command and partnering with unit-specific benevolent organizations to support these communities. These organizations will bring the clinical and peer support resources necessary to allow Sound Off to serve their respective organizations, while they simultaneously spread word of our availability. We are proud to announce our initial partner in this effort, the Special Forces Charitable Trust. As the premier organization serving the U.S. Army Special Forces community, SFCT is leading the way and thinking differently about how to serve their Green Beret family. Now, from the Special Forces Charitable Trust, Jody Burns, Executive Director, and board member and retired Special Forces Colonel, Fred Dumar.
You know, suicide is a topic that is so difficult to address. It's complicated, it's uncomfortable, it's sticky, but it needs to be addressed. Partnering with Sound Off is going to allow us to bring the Army Special Forces community a viable option to turn to when people that are struggling need help. We cannot continue to sit idle. This has got to be the first step. We're really excited to partner with Sound Off. We're committed to recruiting a peer-to-peer network system of battle buddies. We're committed to help find resources to fill the clinician demands of Sound Off. And we're also committed to share whenever and wherever we can. This Sound Off option is going to be an amazing, viable option for those who are struggling.
Hi, I'm Colonel Retired Fred Dumar from the Special Forces Charitable Trust. One of our missions at the Special Forces Charitable Trust is to provide comprehensive support to Special Forces soldiers and their families. It's one of the reasons we're super proud to be partnering with Sound Off. We've been looking for a sort of an out-of-the-box way to treat our soldiers, give them an avenue of support for mental health concerns, suicide prevention. We know it's a huge problem, both in the military writ large and specifically in our Special Operations community. Our Special Forces soldiers have been asking for something that allows them to access mental health care, and we feel that Sound Off is one of many avenues that we can approach to both support our soldiers and their families in a very tangible way. So we're very happy to be partnering with Sound Off on this Veterans Day.
Sound Off is currently in discussions with a number of other special operations-focused benevolent organizations. We expect to have further partnership announcements to make in the coming weeks. We are excited about our path ahead and know it is only possible because of the support you have provided. I and the entire Sound Off team are eternally grateful. James, back to you.
This has been a monumental year for Sound Off. We have launched amidst challenging times and are supporting Texas veterans daily. We are thrilled to announce our expansion into the special operations community and partnerships with organizations like Amazon, Google, and Special Forces Charitable Trust. We appreciate you tuning in today and hope you will be a part of our journey as we work every day to support veterans on their terms.